Why? Why does this movie exist? Just why? I mean, why?
John Carl Buechler has his name attached to hundreds of projects from the 80s through modern day. He's won several awards, and even been nominated for a Razzie for his work in The Garbage Pail Kids. And no, we are not doing that movie just yet. I do not have the strength. I mentioned the Golden Raspberry because, in all honesty, it's a legitimate award, and does draw attention to a body of work. After all, Halle Berry and Faye Dunaway have both won Razzies, and they're critically acclaimed actors.
But even though I do love his work, and he does deserve some acclaim, we have to remember that he's done some crazy crap, like this movie.
Hard Rock Zombies is a Cannon Group production that originally began life as a 20-minute short made solely for the purpose of being a background piece. This was supposed to be playing at the drive-in theater in the movie American Drive-In. That's when, and I bet you this is exactly what happened, Monahem Globus, the more creative of the Golden Globus team-up, or so he thought, as he favored himself a director and a creative consultant, which is where we get the movie The Apple, went to the director of American Drive-In, Krishna Shah, and said, "Hey, why don't you write a little bit more on the script, make it full length, and that way we have 2 movies done cheap."
And so they added 60 minutes of padding and forgot to add an actual plot.
John Carl Buechler was brought in as second unit director and special effects makeup supervisor. And given the budget of this thing, I'm surprised he was even able to pull off what he does.
But before we get into any of that, I need to point out this movie makes no damn sense. I've seen this movie 3 times, and I still can't find any sense in it. And since it makes no sense, I'm going to make nachos today. Because no matter how nonsensical a movie gets, nachos always makes it better. So let's take a look at this abomination unto the cinematic gods known as Hard Rock Zombies. Okay, so I'm going to make spicy chicken nachos for this. And for that, I'm going to need at least 2 chicken breasts. Depending on how many people are coming over, you can always adjust how many you're going to use. So I'm going to marinate this in a little bit of cayenne pepper, chili pepper, paprika, a pinch of thyme, some salt, some pepper, some garlic powder, and some onion powder. I usually have this pre-mixed already because I use it so much. Check out the blog for my recipe for what I call my Cajun curry spice mix. To that, add the juice of 1 lemon, 1 lime, and mix it up.
This, movie starts out with a couple of guys driving, and they pick up a random blonde girl on the side of the road. Cut to a few minutes later, and we see them skinny dipping while 2 dwarves watch and Creepy McPeeper takes pictures. And the blonde kills the 2 guys who picked her up.
Random characters we don't know killed by random characters we don't know? That's great storytelling! And while that craziness was going on, I put the chicken in the fridge for about an hour, and now it's time to cook these guys. I have this indoor grill pan that I like to use because I like the taste of char. Now, if you don't have one, you can use a proper barbecue. And while those are cooking, I'm going to start preparing some chips. Yes, you can use store-bought, but I find you can buy more corn tortillas for the same price as tortilla chips.
We now cut to our main protagonists singing their hit song, Bland 80s Rock Song. Seriously, Journey, sue somebody. After their show, the lead singer meets his love interest for this film, who tells him to stay away from their next gig, saying the town does not want them. So what do our heroes do? They go there anyway, because there's a guy coming to a podunk town just to sign them to a record deal. Along the way, the lead guy is practicing a song that apparently raises the dead. And in a complete turnaround for these characters, who just 5 minutes ago were complaining about being forced to hang out with groupies, they pick up the murderous blonde from the beginning of the movie, while loudly catcalling.
Wow, continuity? What? That's actually more than I expected, really. Okay, so I've cut up about a pack of corn tortillas, and the chicken's going nicely, so it's time to fry these bad guys up. Now these take no time at all, so keep an eye on them. And after they're done, you just sprinkle them with a little bit of salt and let them dry in the oven on warm.
So the band comes into town and stays with the family of the girl they picked up. Then things get odd. Apparently, her family consists of a werewolf, 2 dwarfs, one of which is either a burn victim or horribly mutilated, the other played by Phil Fondacaro. It's amazing how many of these movies he shows up in. There's a German grandpa, a butler, and creepy McPeeper. The band go on a musical montage obviously paying homage to the Monkees to promote their show next day. Unfortunately, everyone in town realizes they are not the Monkees, and the band ends up in jail. They get out almost immediately. The townfolk get together and vote to get rid of rock and roll in the town, but the band says screw that noise and has a jam session at the home of their hosts, where their hosts decide to electrocute them, laughing hysterically.
Just in case you didn't know, they're evil. Okay, so I got the chips done, the chicken's going nicely, so let's make some refried beans. What, you don't like refried beans on your nachos? Well, I do, and it's my show. So, in this pan, I've got a little bit of oil and some jalapenos which are sweating nicely. And to that, I'm just going to add a can of black beans. And once they're heated all the way through, I'm going to take them off the heat and put them in the food processor and then process the crap out of them.
Alright, so what's going on in our movie? Oh yeah, after their hosts electrocute them, the band gets killed one by one while the evil blonde does an interpretive dance in the middle of the desert because... artistic? The last one to die is the lead singer, and I want to bring this up. He's killed by a guy who follows him around with a weed whacker. I point this out because in Friday the 13th Part 6, which Buechler directed, Jason kills someone with a weed whacker. I just think we found a trope that even Buechler didn't realize he invented. I say Buechler because as second unit director he was in charge of action shots and pickups. But back on track. The band is killed, all except their manager, who is invited to dinner, where he learns that German grandpa is actually Adolf Hitler. His wife is Eva Braun, and Hitler's come back to start the Fourth Reich. I think making Eva Braun a werewolf was a small tongue-in-cheek homage to Ilse, she-wolf of the SS, although I think I might be giving this movie too much credit. Damn it, there's just gotta be some sort of sense in this thing.
And then things get really weird. And while that was going on, I whipped up some guacamole. Just take 2 avocados and mash them in a bowl until the consistency you like. I like mine's a bit chunky. Add in some onion, tomato, cilantro, lime juice, salt and pepper, and then put it in the fridge until ready to serve.
Okay, back to the show. The love interest goes and cries over the grave of the lead singer, and plays a tape of the song from the van that brings the dead back to life. And what do you know? The band comes back to life. Or more apt, they developed kiss makeup syndrome and start walking like robots. This is why face paint is wrong, people. It robs you of your motor skills. Oh yeah, and they kill the Hitlers. Apparently Adolf is allergic to Ring Around the Rosie, as the band literally just walks around him in circles, and he dies.
So the movie's over, right?
No, then we have this whole other movie where it turns out the Hitlers aren't dead, but turned into ghouls. The town slowly gets turned into zombies, but our band of heroes has a gig to start. The record executive shows up, and they start playing some of the most generic Journey rip-off songs, complete with more musical montages. The zombie movie for the MTV generation, y'all.
Because what else are you supposed to do in a zombie apocalypse than rock out? Okay, now it's time for the cheese. This is a very easy cheese sauce. All you do is melt an equal amount of butter and flour and make the roux.
So, after a few vignettes of how the town is handling the invasion, some of which are kind of funny, the townsfolk come up with the idea to offer the zombies a virgin so they can bop her, then eat her. And who gets this great honor? Our love interest, of course.
Okay, so there's the roux. Add in a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And once that's incorporated, you add the cheese, stirring until smooth.
So the band's manager, after being attacked by the zombie record exec, goes back to the graveyard and wakes the band again to save the girl, who's been strung up on a tree and being attacked by ghouls. The group plays a song leading all the ghouls into a gas chamber set up by Hitler to purify the country, and all the zombies die inhaling poisonous gases, which makes me wonder if the writers knew what zombies are. They're already dead, so they don't breathe. So how is this supposed to work? Screw it, this movie's almost over anyway. Next day, somehow the band is back in their graves, and the girl is crying over the lead singer, and his hand comes out of the ground, and they cuddle.
And now this crap is done, so let's build these nachos. Chips on the bottom, some refried beans, some chicken, shredded of course, cheese, nice and gooey, just like nacho cheese sauce should be. And some guacamole on the side. So, what do I think of this movie?
Imagine Manos Hands of Fate, but with a budget, then feel twice as insulted because Krishna Shah, the director of this film, is an award-winning director of stage and screen, who obviously did not want to make this film. This movie was obviously put together at the last moment because the Cajun group wanted to make 2 quick bad movies instead of 1 good movie. There's no real character in this movie. It's shot terribly. The film looks like it's 8mm when in fact it's the standard 35mm of the time period. And the dialogue is hilariously bad. There are a few funny vignettes, and Buechler does pull out some good special effects in one scene, but overall, it's no wonder you've probably never heard of this movie. I say watch it, but only once. To do so again would make your brain implode.
But this is still a good movie to make fun of, with good friends and good food. And if you can't take it, just put in Manborg, which we will be getting to sooner or later. Well, thanks for stopping by, thanks for tuning in, and come back next week when John Carl Buechler Month continues.